What's up everyone, KitaSean here. So I'm pretty sure you guys already know this, but the 14 servants that got buffs from this 4th anniversary event campaign have all been revealed, and in this video we're going to go ahead and talk about every individual buff and talk about if they're good or not, or are they just an added bonus to these servants. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and check out the buffs. So the first buff we're going to be talking about is going to be Altair's Saber. Her first skill, Tactics B, originally only increases MP strength for 1 turn. Now it's going to be 3 turns, which is great for farming. This allows your other servants in your party to do more damage on the next wave, and as an added bonus, this will also get rid of defensive buffs on enemies. So a great bonus, a great farming tool now. So yeah, this is a great buff for Altair. So Romulus, 3-star Lancer, his first skill, Natural Body C, gets a buff. Originally, it increases attack debuff resist for 3 turns. It greatly restores HP. The attack debuff resist doesn't change at all. It's still the same. The HP restoring, it does increase a little bit, and then not only that, it also gets an MP charge. So basically, the battery, great for him to get his MP up right away. So the third buff is going to go to Medusa Lancer. Her first skill, Siren Song B, originally chance to inflict charm opposite gender only for 1 turn. The charm chance has now increased, and it inflicts quick resistance down to an enemy, and the cooldown time went from 9 to 8 turns. So basically it's a lot faster to use, and it gets an added bonus to it. So the next buff goes to Gorgon. Her first skill, Monstrous Strength A+, only increases attack for 1 turn, level 1 30% and level 10 50%, and I thought 1 turn was just a waste, but now this increases the buff to 4 times for 2 turns, which is great. I think that's a great buff for that. And then not only that, it increases the star weight for Buster cards. So yeah, this is a buff that I think works very well with her. So the next buff goes to my boy Skander. His second skill, Tactics B, increases MP strength for 1 turn. This will now go to 3 turns like Altair, and it will do a little bit more damage, and it also gets critical damage up as well for 3 turns. So great, because he's a rider, they gain a lot of stars. So yeah, I think this is a great buff for him, and I like how it's 3 turns. It definitely helps out for farming. So the next buff goes to Alexander, the younger version of Skander. His second skill also gets a buff, Fair Youth B. Originally, chance to inflict charm on humanoids for 1 turn. The chance to inflict the charm is a lot higher now. And then not only that, it removes all buffs on 1 enemy. So this is actually a pretty good buff in my opinion, especially because you can get rid of all the buffs on an enemy. So I think that's a lot better than charm. I personally don't really care too much about charm, but I think that remove all buffs on an enemy is huge. So the next buff goes to Medea Lily. Her third skill increases HP recovery amount for 1 turn. Originally, charge time was 10, now it's going down to 8, and not only that, it will now grant buff removal resistance for 1 turn. I think the reason why they buffed this skill specifically is because of Asclepius. He's a really good healer, 3-star caster, so low cost, and not only that, he has a skill that's very similar to this, and it's charge time 7. So I think the reason why they did this to Medea Lily is because they didn't want masters to not use her anymore. They didn't want her to feel replaced, basically. So I think that's the reason why they gave her that buff on her third skill. So Fuma Kotaro gets a buff on his third skill, decreased debuff resist for 1 turn. It stays the same, doesn't change at all. It adds on inflict defense down against all enemies for 3 turns, and inflicts enemy buff nullification on all enemies for 1 turn. I think this is great for a stalling servant, because I mean his second skill stalls because of the evade. So yeah, I think it works very well with his skill set. So Boudicca, her first skill, originally applies special attack to Romans for 3 turns. Originally this was only to herself, but this will now go to all allies, which is a nice bonus. But this also increases critical strength for all allies for 3 turns. So this is actually a pretty good one for her, especially because she is a rider and most likely going to be in rider teams. But again, the Roman buff is just like a bonus, but the critical strength for 3 turns is going to be a nice touch. So Narrow Bride gets a buff, and honestly this wasn't necessary, but this definitely helps out Art's teams a lot. Her first skill, increased MP gain for 3 turns. That stays the same. That's already a really good skill in general, but now this adds on MP gauge up from 20 to 30%, so it's a battery too. This helps arts teams a lot, like literally a lot. Like arts teams are going to be a thing now, or they've been a thing, but it's going to be a lot better now. Martha Ruler, the very first swimsuit servant to ever get a buff. Her MP gets damage increase, and the defense down effect will now increase as well. I think this is huge, especially because swimsuit servants, their MP damage is pretty low, especially for Martha being a ruler. Not only that, Buster MP, single target. I think this is huge for her, and I like the nice touch on the defense down as well. So yeah, I like this buff on Martha. Mysterious Heroine X gets a buff. Her first skill, medium chance to inflict stun on all enemies after 1 turn, stays the same, but it adds on defense down to all enemies for 3 turns and reduces the charge time from 10 to 9. I think this is huge. I think the charge time was necessary. I like how it goes down a little bit, making it a lot faster to use. The defense down is just an added bonus in my opinion, but I really was surprised to see that she got a buff, honestly. But I like how she can now do, you know, defense down, and it's a faster charge time. So Maid Alter gets a buff as well, the second swimsuit servant to ever get a buff. Her second skill, Coaching A, I think it's already a great skill, but it adds on increased max HP for 5 turns after the skill is activated, so basically a turn later. I mean, it wasn't necessary. It's a nice bonus and everything. If anything, I think Reloaded C should have got a buff like increased critical strength or something like that, but it didn't. So yeah, well, I'm actually kind of surprised Coaching A got that buff, and it wasn't really necessary. It's just an added bonus, honestly. Gawain, his Charisma E, increased attack of all allies for 3 turns. The percentage for this will go up, and it will also add sunlight on the field for a turn. So basically a lighter version of his first skill, but of course this one increases attack for all allies. His first skill only does it for, you know, himself, but basically power of the sun, and sure, it's a nice bonus as well. I like how, you know, the charisma does more percentage now. That's nice, because 12% is, you know, honestly nothing, but yeah, this is a nice touch, and sunlight again is just an added bonus. So that was all the buffs for the 14 servants for the 4th anniversary. Now I'll be honest, I don't think these were mind-blowing buffs. I mean, they're nice bonuses, they're nice touches, like for example Skander. Narrow Bride I thought was really good because this helps out arts teams a lot. Boudicca's, I mean, critical up is nice, a nice touch. Again, the Roman is like a nice bonus. But other than that, I think these were just like buffs to have you guys still use these servants in the future, because I mean, as more servants appear, there's going to be different types of skills and stuff like that, and we don't want these servants to like just, you know, collect dust in our boxes. So I think these are all nice touches and nice bonuses to have. So I know a lot of you guys are like, Narrow Bride didn't need this buff, Altair doesn't need this buff. Well, I think Altair did need it, but Narrow Bride did not need one. But this is, again, helping arts teams a lot, and a lot of people want arts teams to be superior now. So this is, again, a buff that helps arts teams a lot. Okta, honestly, I don't really think she needs the buff. I think she's great how she is now, but I hear you guys. I know we don't want her to collect dust and everything like that. We want a reason to keep using her. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll get the buff. I mean, we know it's gonna come. Like, we know all these servants eventually will get buffs, but I think they're just timing it. I mean, according to the Famitsu magazine, that's what Kano Yoshiki-san said. They're trying to time everything perfectly, like, you know, animations and buffs and stuff like that. So we'll eventually get it, guys. Just be patient, and Okta will shine when the time comes. So yeah, that's basically about it. Tell me which buff you guys thought was awesome to get for these 14 servants in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Laters.